What would you do if you were trapped in a freezer at minus 18 degrees with no phone, no way out, and time slipping away? Could you survive the cold? Or would the cold survive you? Stay with us to see how Millie fights for every second of her life. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, because what happens next, you won't believe. The cardboard box ripped apart without warning. The thud of frozen meat spilling masked the sound of the manager's door shutting. That was how the girl, Millie, became trapped inside the storage freezer, its temperature set at minus 18 degrees Celsius. At first, she didn't notice. Not until the manager turned off all the shop's lights did Millie sense the danger. She leapt up and banged against the heavy door. In panic, she flicked on the freezer lights, but the brightness never reached her heart again. The manager, busy answering phone calls, ignored every other sound. Even as he walked out of the mall, the conversation on his phone continued. Millie frantically searched for her own phone, but it had been left behind on the store counter. Confronted with the freezing chamber, Millie felt helpless. She didn't know what else to do, but she refused to give up. She pushed a cart and rammed it against the door. No matter how many times she struck, it wouldn't budge. Her hands, however, split open and bruised. As the cold deepened, Millie rubbed them again and again, desperate for even a trace of warmth. By chance, her fingers brushed against a movie ticket in her pocket. She glanced at her watch. The last screening was nearly finished. She grabbed a tray, rushed to the door, and stared at the ticking hands without looking away. When the moment arrived, she pounded the tray desperately against the door. Just then, theater-goers streamed out past the store, but their chatter was filled with talk of the movie and late-night food. No one heard Millie's desperate calls. When the crowd was gone, a small boy passed by. He caught the sound and told his father. But as the father lowered his phone and walked closer, the tray slid from Millie's hand. She was already too frozen to fight on. Her one chance slipped away. One by one, the mall lights dimmed. Millie was now sealed inside the freezer. Her watch cracked under the bitter cold. Without time, she felt even more hopeless. Worse, blood trickled from her nose under the icy air. At this pace, she would not survive long. Terrified, she curled into a corner. She didn't know what else to do or how much longer she could last. Soon, her hands stiffened, frost creeping up her arms. Millie forced herself to be strong. She took off her earrings, pulled a thin shirt from her bag, tore it in two, and bound the cloth around her hands and feet. But it was nowhere near enough. Her toes split under the cold. She could only curl tighter. She had no sense of time anymore. In a haze, she realized the freezing air came from two fans inside. Summoning courage, she dragged over a box and ripped it into two square pieces of cardboard. Dragging her wounded body, she climbed a ladder. The icy wind slashed her face like blades. On tiptoe, trembling, she pressed cardboard against one fan, taping it carefully in place. One mistake, and she could fall. As soon as she covered the second fan, the first piece blew away. Millie crawled after it, but her foot slipped. She crashed to the ground. Luckily, she avoided worse. Yet, her right foot was crushed, broken under the fall. In this frozen tomb, the injury only worsened her odds. So Millie made a brutal choice. She wedged her foot between two shelves. Slowly, she slid a cardboard strip to brace it. Holding her breath, she clenched her teeth hard and forced the broken foot back into place. She endured the agony of both injury and cold. She bound the foot with cloth, braced it with cardboard, and tied it tight with tape. At least now, it could carry a little weight. Millie tried to find food for strength. Fries, once soft, were now solid as stone. She had no choice but to curl against the wall, waiting for whatever came next. Then, Millie spotted a mouse. She felt no fear. Instead, she grabbed the box beneath its feet. Inside lay a piece of chocolate. She quickly devoured it. Only with energy could she cling to survival. Watching the mouse also scavenge, Millie broke off a piece and tossed it its way. After all, they were enduring the same cruel fate. By then, the freezer's temperature was minus 16 degrees. If she didn't find a solution, she would perish. Then, Millie remembered the lighter in her bag. She began burning whatever she could, even her Canadian visa application papers. It meant surrendering her dreams just to live. Sure enough, the temperature climbed. The mouse drew nearer, basking in the warmth, but soon, thick smoke filled the chamber. Millie coughed violently, choking. She realized smoke might kill her before the frost. She smothered the flames with a cardboard sheet. That's when she noticed a half-burned page. It showed a drawing of a warm fortress. Inspiration struck. Dragging her battered body, she built a small shelter from boxes and plastic frames. She topped it with cardboard and even let the mouse inside. Hidden there, maybe the fear lessened, but the cold air still seeped in. Everything remained frozen. She lost track of time. When Millie awoke again, her arm had slipped from the cardboard and frozen to the ground. She had no time to hesitate. The longer she delayed, the harder it would stick. She pulled hard, screaming in agony. The mouse had already frozen to death. After so long without movement, every action doubled her pain. Her skin cracked open. She didn't know how much longer she could bear it. At that moment, Millie looked at the fans once more. She dragged a steel pipe, shoved it into the vent, and pushed with all her strength, trying to pry it open. After countless attempts, she finally wrenched the cover free. If only she could stop the spinning fan, the freezing air would ease. She clutched the steel pipe with both hands, but it was no use. By then, the temperature had sunk to minus 17 degrees. Without another plan, Millie would freeze to death. She sat down. She wrapped her frostbitten arm with plastic wrap. Then, she wound it around her whole body. In her left hand, she held a piece of frozen meat, glaring at the relentless fan. In that instant, Millie looked like a warrior reborn. She hurled the meat at the blades. She missed, so she tried again. After throw, her eyes sharpened, her will hardened. Finally, with one last burst, she hit the fan. Her determination brought success. The icy wind still cut at her, but inside, hope flickered. To ensure the blades never span again, she stuffed in more frozen meat. Only one fan remained. If she could stop it, she still might live, but her strength was nearly gone. She missed again and again, then collapsed. By then, her skin was purple, split from frost. With her last ounce of will, she tapped weakly on the wall. Unexpectedly, her fingers brushed a screw. She pulled out a hairpin, twisted it, and opened the cover. It was an escape hatch, but she no longer had the strength to crawl through. Instead, she picked up a tray and tapped twice inside the opening. At that very moment, her father, who had been frantically searching, happened to pass by. He heard the sound and rushed to check the fire hydrant door. He refused to overlook even the faintest clue. From the outside, it appeared only as a hydrant. He nearly walked away, just as Millie collapsed. The tray slipped from her hand, clattering loudly to the floor. The sound pulled him back. Urgency told him every second mattered. Millie lay motionless on the icy ground, eyes shut. And just then, her father found her. Millie had finally been saved. Millie's fight for survival was just the beginning. What would you have done inside that freezer? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, because the next story might chill you even deeper.